imagination began with a new art form.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today what I got here is something tiny. Yeah, it is the Emax Tinyhawk. It is considered to be an indoor flyer, but I think I'll consider this an indoor as well as outdoor flyer because it's got brushless motors. Although it is 1S powered, it has tons of power for outdoor flying, and it is very controllable for indoor flying as well. So very, very nice tiny hoop by Emax. Now, as you can see, the props are upside down by design. Now there's a upside to it and there's a downside to that as well. Because the props are upside down, normally the quadcopter will be like this and you will have all this stuff restricting the airflow. And because the props have no restriction of airflow, I think it flies even better. It flies more stable in this manner, but there's a downside to it because the props are on the bottom. Let's say if you land in wet grass or even like dirt with small tiny pebbles, you could pick some of that stuff up, and if the grass is a little wet, you can pick up some water and fly it inside of the flight controller, possibly shorting it out or something like that, or maybe small pebbles can get inside of the props and maybe damage the props. So that's the downside. So just be careful where you land this thing, and I think you should be good to go. And the props are the 40mm tri-bladed props, and the motors that we are given are the 08025 15,000 kV motors. And as you can see, the props are attached to the motor not just by the stem, but the props engulf the whole motor itself, and it is attached, wrapped around the motor, which is really nice by design because most of the time you see those push-in props on just on the stem. After you move it or take it out and put it back in, it comes right off, you know, and flies right off while you're flying. And this will hold the prop in place as well. And because the props are upside down, it won't fly off. It will actually kind of stay, rather push itself in further. So that is a good thing. It's a very, very nice design. Now there's some integrated motor wires right in the attachment arms, and the motors are plug and play. As you can see, you can just unplug it. If you find a bad motor, you can just switch it out, and it's very easy to do so. Another very, very nice design, I think. And there's the USB port right on the top as well, so very easy to access the USB port and connect to your Betaflight configurator while your quadcopter is resting flat on the table surface while you're doing all your configurations in Betaflight. So that is really nice. And the FPV camera is right inside of that top canopy, and I think that is the only thing that is inside of that canopy, and it kind of protects it. The only vulnerability is right at this angle where you land, maybe on concrete or something. You might damage the tip of the FPV camera, but the camera all in all is protected fairly well. I did get into a couple of crashes where I landed upside down and stuff, and I do have a little bit of scratches right on the top of the canopy, but nothing on the camera itself. And we also see that there is a single button right next to the USB port, and that is the VTX. The all-in-one flight controller also contains the VTX. It is a double level flight controller with the VTX on the top, and we are able to access that single button to change the channels and the band of the VTX. And the VTX is a 25 milliwatt 37 channel VTX, and the camera is a 600 TV line FPV camera. And it also supports the TBS Smart audio protocol, so you are able to change the channels and the bands right in the OSD menu from your goggles or your monitor, utilizing your transmitter as well. And the flight controller is shaped like that of the bottom plastic plate. As you can see, this bottom plastic plate right here, the flight controller is shaped exactly like it. So it is completely safe and is completely protected. Not safe with water and pebbles and stuff like that, but it is completely surrounded and is protected pretty good. It is the F4 flight controller, and the target is the Maytech F411 firmware, and it also has built-in Betaflight OSD, and it also has a built-in receiver with RSSI support as well. And the receiver that is built in is the FrSky D8 mode receiver, and it also has the 4-in-1 built-in 3 amp ESCs. So everything is built into that one flight controller. And to bind the quadcopter with your transmitter, there it is. I found the right corner. Here is the bind button, and you can access the bind button with a flat head screwdriver, a small flat head screwdriver. You can just slide it in and hit that button and power up the quadcopter using that 2mm connector to the provided battery, or you can also power up the receiver utilizing the USB port as well. So very easy to bind. You don't have to take off anything at all to bind with this quadcopter. All right, so here is the entire package, and the quadcopter came inside of this nice carrying case. It's got this nice embossed Emax logo right on the top, and the quadcopter was nestled inside there, nicely protected. So it can be a nice carrying case. You can take this anywhere. Just throw some batteries inside of these little compartments here, or carry batteries separately. Carry all this stuff inside here or whatever, and it is nicely protected. You can just throw this inside your backpack and be on your way. So very, very nice carrying case that comes with it. And here's also the charge dongle, the USB charge dongle. Now you can either charge high voltage or just a normal voltage. So there's arrows right here indicating that's the high voltage. There's arrows here indicating it's low voltage. There's 2 connectors on the right, 2 connectors on the left. So if you want to charge high voltage, you will be using these 2 because that's the direction of the arrow for the high voltage. So let me go ahead and power this up utilizing a lipstick battery here. So as you can see, the LED lights are flashing to the right. That means it is set on that high voltage mode. And if the LED lights are flashing that way, then it is set on the normal 4.2 volt mode. All right, so you'll plug in your high voltage batteries on this side and low voltage batteries on this side. Now you are able to change from high voltage to low voltage by this tiny little button over here, which I have used a pen tip to press, and I pushed it in. So yeah, I broke it. So I'm only able to charge batteries high voltage with this thing, which is just fine because it is a high voltage battery that it comes with. And here is the battery itself. It is branded Emax Power the World. It says it is a 450 milliamp high voltage battery. It says 80C to 160C. Wow. All right. But the only problem that I have with this battery is that the cable is really short. So when you place it inside the battery bay, it doesn't quite reach, as you can see. So you got to kind of press it in a little bit more, connect it, and try to push it out as far as you can, because that is the center, that is the front. So the battery goes on sideways, so you don't want to place the battery kind of crooked, otherwise you'll have a unbalancing issue. So you want to put it right in the center, and you are able to do so by just kind of pushing it over. So that is the battery. And we also get some little tiny stickers, and we also get some little screws and stuff, and also another battery connector cable, just in case something happens to yours. I guess they provide you with an extra one. And we also get this tiny screwdriver, and we also get the Tinyhawk instruction manual, or a pamphlet, and it is an extensive instruction pamphlet. It goes on to show you everything you need to know, front and back, and the back is in Chinese, so just in the front. All right, so that is everything that comes in the package of the Emax Tinyhawk. All right, so let's weigh the quadcopter by itself without the battery, and the quadcopter will come in at just 27 grams, so very, very light. And with the battery that it comes with, registers in at 40 grams. So I've been also using the Emax Tinyhawk with these batteries that came with the Snapper 7. These are also 450 high voltage batteries, and these have a slightly longer battery cable than the one that is provided. So I kind of like these ones better. So if you are buying replacement batteries, consider buying these guys here because they are a little bit better to connect to the battery cable. All right, so I took it out for a test flight this morning and did a line of sight test flight and a couple of FPV test flights. I must first say though that this is a very stable and a very controllable and a very smooth flyer. It was like as if I was flying this thing in angle mode, but it was actually in air mode. So if you are a beginner acro flyer, you just gotta check this one out. It is just an awesome quadcopter. So what happened this morning was that I was getting these fail safes here and there, and the fail safes that were occurring was rather very close by. And this is after I've already established a lot more distance than that without any issues at all. So I'm going to play those video clips, but take into consideration that these are my very first few flights with a Tinyhawk. And after I came home, I tried changing some settings in Betaflight, and I think it is now a lot better. All right, here we go with our first line of sight test flight with the Emax Tinyhawk. I got my Tyrannus QX7S bound to it, and I got the battery that comes with the Emax Tinyhawk. So let's go ahead and power it up. One thing I don't like about this battery that it doesn't have a long enough cable, so you kind of have to stretch it out to make it fit right in the middle here. So there we go, and we should be bound. There we go. Takes a little while. This thing is very stable. That is one thing I can say right away. If you are going to fly it in angle mode, this thing is just stable as heck. Look at that, it looks like a little alien spaceship, doesn't it, from the top? 1S power. And it is a brushless, so it does have pretty decent amount of power. So let's check out the punch out. There we go. Look at that. That's pretty good for 1S, I would say. One more. Oh, look at that. You're going to be able to do some maneuvers up that high. So that would be really nice. Now let's go ahead and check it out in Acro Mode. I flicked it over to Acro. And oh yeah, it does have a little bit of movement with Acro. A lot more pitch and roll, of course. So let's see if I can do a little flip with this thing. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Not bad. Oh yeah, nice little fast flip. Okay, power flip. Yep, you are able to do some flips with this thing. Okay, power loop, and almost hit the ground. Saved it. Nice. You don't want to hit the ground with this thing because the props are on the bottom, so you don't want to damage the prop. So you got to be careful where you land. You don't want to land in a pile of dirt, or you don't want to land in grass or anything like that. It'll damage the bottom, so just be careful with that. But I think by placing the motors on the bottom, it has a non-restrictive airflow pushing it down. So yeah, you win some, you lose some. All right, I think I still have a little bit of flight time left, so let me go ahead and 30 seconds before I hit 3 minutes, I think. So do some circuits here.
20 seconds.
So it's got a D8 protocol receiver, so you don't want to go too far with this thing. It is made for backyard
10,
FPV flying or
8, 7,
indoor FPV
6,
flying. All right,
5.
that's kind of irritating when it starts to count down. Check it out, Emax Tinyhawk. Very nice. Just awesome. 1S. Technology is getting better and better. All right, so let me go ahead and put it down and check it out with some FPV goggles. All right, here we go with our first FPV flight with the Emax Tinyhawk. So let's check this baby out. Oh, the video looks really nice. And am I in air mode? Yeah, I'm in air mode. Wow, this thing is really stable. It is as if I'm in angle mode. Wow. It is like, yeah, let me do a flip to make sure. Yeah, I'm in air mode. Wow, this thing is so stable, guys. Okay, I'm throttling up around 60 to 70% to get going here. And so far this thing is very smooth and very easy to control. Oh yeah, you can do a loop. And look at how smooth this thing flies. Okay, the RSSI is still good. Yep, it still has distance too for a tiny little guy with a built-in receiver, so there's no problem flying around your backyard or a small little park. Awesome. Oh, this is just superb for a 1S. Oh man, if you are a beginner acro flyer, you should consider getting this thing. Look at how smooth this thing flies. I feel like I'm in angle mode, really.
20 seconds.
But you are able to maneuver a lot better than if you were in angle mode. And let me flick it over to angle mode.
10,
Okay, I'm in angle mode now.
8,
And this is my full pitch.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Timer.
All right,
1
this
allowed.
is air mode. And my stick movements don't have to be tiny. I can actually exaggerate my stick movements. Oh, I got a little failsafe there. What the? And I'm directly in front of myself. Oh wow, I think the signal is getting weak too. Let me go ahead and retrieve it. What the? Okay, brought it back to the table and nothing seems to be wrong with it, but I wasn't that far away and it just fail-safed on me. Huh. So I'm wondering if the flight controller is getting too hot and it's causing some kind of receiver problem. Yeah, so far so good. So yeah, this thing is just awesome. Very stable. And I've been flying for almost 3 minutes, not counting the walk time retrieving it, but wow, this thing is stable. So if you are flying indoors, oh yeah, this thing is just awesome flying indoors. There was a little twitch right there too. So I'm getting some kind of receiver problem. Yeah, look at that. I fail-safed again. And I don't think it is a brownout. It just seems like it's a fail-safe. All right, so let me go ahead and retrieve it one more time. All right, here we go with our second FPV flight with the Emax Tinyhawk. And I think what it was, that fail-safe situation, is I think it is also the battery getting low perhaps. So it's kind of a brownout as well, but I still had video. But that is kind of strange. So I got a brand new battery in here, another 450 milliamp high voltage. So let's go ahead and check it out with the brand new battery. So let me go away from myself. Yeah, see, with the brand new battery, I'm not having that issue. So I'm not sure what that was. A failsafe due to low battery, I think. So what I also did was I did stick the antenna out, the receiver antenna out of the quadcopter, because it was just kind of rolled up in there, kind of squashed up in there with the VTX antenna, one on each side. So just be careful not to fly too long, I guess. Let me see if I go behind a car and experience a fail-safe because I'm behind a car. No, it is good. Okay, so as you can see, the battery level indicator is pretty low. So I'm only getting about a minute of flight time with this battery. I don't know if this is a good battery. It should be a pretty decent battery. It's a pretty brand new battery. I got it with the Snapper 7 and I haven't used it that much. So let's just go ahead and run it out and see if it just drops out of the sky even though I'm close by. Like I said, this thing is so smooth. It's just amazing. You are in air mode, but it feels like you're in angle mode. Look at that. I didn't do a full rotation and it's still... Oh, I had a slight disconnect right there. So I'm going to go ahead and land it. I think it's because of the battery. Look at the battery level. Yep, there you go. A fail-safe. So we're not getting a very good amount of flight time with this one. So be careful with that. That is our second FPV flight with the Emax Hawk, or Emax Tinyhawk. So I brought it home and found out that by decreasing the minimum cell voltage and the battery warning voltage to 2.8 instead of 3.1, which I had it set to earlier, kind of solved the early fail-safe issues. And now I have longer flight times with the same battery that I was having fail-safe issues earlier in the flight. But you also take the risk of depleting the battery to an unsafe level flying that long. So landed, I would say around 3.3 if you set the minimum cell voltage to 2.8, because it was fail-safing back home at right around 3.1. Or if you feel any slight disconnect and reconnect, go ahead and land the quadcopter before it fail-safes, especially if you're going to be flying above concrete and hard surfaces and stuff like that. So here's another test flight back home in the backyard with the minimum cell voltage set to 2.8. So that is it for now for the Emax Tinyhawk. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Have a great day, and we will see you again next time.
Congratulations.